Well, good morning, ladies. Good morning, Thrivewell. It's good to see you on this Tuesday morning. A little gloomy outside, but a little fun in the kitchen today. So just to introduce myself for any new faces, my name is Alie Cantu. I'm one of the registered dietitians here with the chef team. CHEF stands for Culinary Health Education for Families, and we are the Nutrition Education Department here at the San Antonio Food Bank. So we're so thankful that you can join us today. Today is the fourth class of our series, the Nutrition Through Cancer. So we're so excited to be partnering with Thrivewell. This is the first time we've gone through the whole 4 lessons of our class. So after today, I would love to hear your feedback. But to get started, in today's lesson, we're talking about overcoming obstacles and how do we create a game plan for any time we are going through cancer treatment and we have adverse symptoms or any symptoms that we can encounter throughout life too. So some of it is going to be just practical tips. But I did want to do a quick recap for any newbies here today of our first 3 lessons. So I promise it's no pop quiz. We're just going to kind of review each class. So the first class we talked about was nutrition basics. Nutrition basics through cancer specifically. And we're looking at the whole goal in nutrition is to prevent any malnutrition. We want to encourage great eating habits in order to make sure that we are well nourished wherever we're at in our cancer journey. And so there were 3 key components to include. Does anyone remember the 3 key components? If you can see, you may be able to see my cheat sheet here. I had to write it down too. There was no way I was going to remember. But 3 key components that we're looking at. And for nutrition, yep. So whenever we're going through cancer, we want to focus on nutrition. There's 2 others. So calories, protein, and vitamins and minerals are the 3 key components we can influence nutrition. We're looking also at physical activity anytime we can. Staying active can actually help increase our appetite at times too. And then we're also looking at a support group. So again, that's what Thrivewell is here for, a wonderful way that we can create community here. And I'm so glad to be a part of it. So that was the first class. So we talked about the nutrition, physical activity, and support, specifically in nutrition, because that's in my wheelhouse. We're talking about calories, protein, and those vitamins and minerals. In that second class, does anyone else remember? I'm going to step out for a second. And I'll use an example. We talked about the New American Plate from the American Cancer Research Institute. What is that New American Plate supposed to look like? The peace sign, right? Plant-based, yep, you got it. Yeah, that's when we had our tofu, avocado salad. So yes, 2/3 plant-based, that 1/3 would be then animal-based. So that's where we talked about the New American Plate. Got to try maybe some new foods that week too. And then last week we talked about food safety. Food safety in 4 key areas. We talked about food safety when we're shopping, at the grocery store, whenever we're storing food at home, whenever we're preparing it, and then cooking food too. So I'm just going to kind of go through those again. Anyone remember a way to encourage food safety when we're in the store? What is one way we can stay safe at the store? Wiping down the cart. I love that idea. Well, Bronte, what was the other one you had? Oh, yes. Not eating grapes right away because we don't know who's touched it. We don't know. It hasn't been rinsed or washed yet. So that's a good one. Okay, and how about, that kind of leads into storing our food. What's one way we can stay safe while storing our food? Yep, yeah, put it away as soon as we get home. Any others that kind of come to mind? Washing? The one that I always think about is how do we store in our fridge? Putting meat, because of those meat juices, that's what I always think about, those meat juices. Putting it at the bottom, a separate container if we can. Storing it, any raw food items away from any of our ready-to-eat food items like produce. So that's what I think. How about when we're preparing it? We talked about a few different ways. How can we stay safe when we prepare? Yes, I love that one. Different cutting boards. I love a lot of times too, you can see color-coded cutting boards. So that's a fun way. Any other ideas? I see.
Well, I was going to say, not cross, like you washing your hands a lot, you're working with one thing and then you're going to do something else. But it was kind of like the cutting boards, but your hands, your knives, your utensils can all do the same thing.
Yep, that's a big one. I love that. The cross-contamination, especially when we're going from, like we said, raw to cooked, washing your hands, switching out your utensils if you need to. I love that. So thank you. Yeah. If you've noticed too, some of our knives are actually color coded. So you can, we don't color code them here when we're in the kitchen, but you can color code them like this. So this could be for poultry and use it with a yellow cutting board. So that way you know anything yellow should only have raw chicken. We don't want to put our cooked chicken on top of the raw chicken after. We want to keep it separate. So just some ideas. And then the last one is whenever we're cooking. I may have jumped the gun on that one and said, but what are some ways we can stay safe and prevent food-borne illnesses when we're cooking? Temperature you're cooking. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know we said to not leave it out after 2 hours. If you are trying to let it cool before putting it back into the fridge, maybe separate your soups or your stews into separate containers and only reheat leftovers one time. Don't try to keep on reheating and reheating, because then, yeah, that's storing food properly. So it sounds like we are food safety experts. Now did anyone else use the thermometer in your fridge? Use the fridge thermometer. You tried it. What did your fridge read?
It was like I keep it pretty low, so it was
Okay. It was like perfect. Oh, awesome. So if anyone's interested in more fridge thermometers, I got you. So I can get you some more. I got you. I can get you a few. Yeah, definitely. We have plenty, so I will bring some down in just a bit. So jumping into today, we're talking about symptoms that we can see throughout cancer, and specifically a lot of times throughout treatment, whether that be radiation or chemo, we see an attack on the GI system, on our digestive tract, and that's because the cells in our digestive system turn over every 3 to 5 days. So that's the point of cancer treatment, is that it's trying to address the cancer cells that are rapidly repeating and multiplying, that growth factor. So that's what the cancer treatment is trying to address, especially in radiation and chemo. Of course, that's also why we can see symptoms like nausea, vomiting, even constipation or diarrhea, especially diarrhea too. So it's understandable if you are, wherever you're at in your treatment, that you are experiencing these symptoms. So we want to create a game plan to when you do experience something like that, what can we do? What are some tips that you can have in your toolbox ready that you know, okay, I can try to combat this in a few different ways. So I'm going to start with nausea and vomiting. So specifically for nausea and vomiting, I like to say small frequent meals. Small frequent meals, instead of thinking or keeping the mindset of I have to eat 3 full plates every day, every couple of hours, full meals, that can be a little trouble, especially when you're feeling those symptoms or you're wanting to throw up at times. So instead, go for small frequent meals. I like to do maybe every 2 to 3 hours, have a smaller snack. Maybe that is pairing like a carbohydrate and a protein, or maybe something like what we're gonna do today, which is a tabbouleh. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started and then we can continue moving forward, but this is gonna be a great snack that you can keep in your fridge for a few days, about 3 to 5 days. It's gonna be rich in, we're gonna have some protein and carbohydrates with our quinoa. So quinoa is the base. I'm gonna go ahead and cook it for all of us today. And I'm gonna throw it right on in. Since we're doing quite a bit, it's about 3 cups of quinoa. And I do want to thank Raquel because she went ahead and rinsed it for me. I do like to rinse the quinoa just a bit before we start cooking. Let me spread it out. Who's cooked with quinoa? I know we've used it before. Okay, a few hands. Awesome. For those of you that have not, so quinoa actually originated in South America, and it's native to South America. It also became a huge hype in the US because of what we've seen with it. And that's that it is a complete protein source as well. It has all of the essential amino acids. So it's a great superfood, what we like to call. It's also very delicious in a tabbouleh. Tabbouleh you can do with rice, or a few different types of grain. We had plenty of quinoa. You may remember we used quinoa a few weeks ago at the first class, so we're trying to get rid of the bag, and we still have plenty. So for this, it was 3 cups of quinoa with 6 cups of water. I did not salt it because we're gonna use a few other variations to bring out some flavor. So I'm not gonna salt it quite yet. And we're gonna let it sit until it's gonna boil first. And then, let's see, let me make sure I'm doing the right section. We're gonna boil it, and then we're gonna go ahead and add it to our kind of salad, our tabbouleh for today. Let me just make sure. I think I can bring it closer. Okay, perfect. Alrighty. Okay, so we're talking about nausea and vomiting. Maybe not the best things when we're thinking about eating right now, but just to go over again some more tips and tricks whenever you have these symptoms. So we talk about the starchy, low-fat, bland foods. So toast, we'll see sometimes like applesauce, maybe not a starchy food, but it's gonna definitely be low-fat. Anything that's colder too can really help to ease those feelings of nausea. Sometimes it's considered too, if you have an empty stomach, that can actually aggravate the symptoms of nausea. So that's why we say every 2 to 3 hours you can eat a small snack or portion, and it'll kind of help to keep your stomach full, or at least food moving through it constantly, so it's not just an empty stomach. Any other kind of like starchy or low-fat foods you go to that are like your go-to when you have nausea or vomiting? Right? Crackers, so saltines are the best. Toast, yep, same kind of, again, a broth. I love that, actually. We talk about broth a few times, but I think having some broth at home, a bone broth, can really help in a few different ways. Yeah, bone broth? Yeah. Definitely. A lot of bone broth. Wonderful. I mean, I'll talk about it a few times for sure. So I know too, we're saying drink water throughout the day, at least 1 cup every hour, just to also stay hydrated too, because whenever you are vomiting, you have a higher risk of becoming dehydrated. So 1 cup every hour, even if you set an alarm on your phone. Sometimes too, when we have a decreased appetite, it can be kind of a challenge to continue to think about eating or drinking. So setting an alarm on your phone sometimes can help too. Just another tip. And so I will say all of our curriculum and all these tips, not only have they been from experiences that I've seen, but also we worked with a dietitian that's specifically in oncology, so a cancer dietitian. She helped us and provided more tips and tricks from her clinic that she works in right now out in Houston. So she also recommended to continue to have electrolytes, especially if you're feeling, after a few bouts of vomiting, we want to have those electrolytes to replace those frequently. So you could do a Gatorade or a Gatorade Zero, a Pedialyte or an electrolyte juice. Also, the bone broth, that's where we talked about it too. It's going to have plenty of electrolytes as well as protein in it too, so it can help us feel a little bit fuller longer. And then you can find some clear supplements too if you're looking just for those electrolytes. Usually Ensure can have a clear supplement as well. So just trying what works best for you and looking for that. I know summer is coming up pretty soon, and it's already getting hot out there too. So popsicles is another great way, putting some frozen fruit or popsicles. Today we are using some frozen strawberries into our tabbouleh, and so you can, while you're cutting it up too, also suck on a strawberry. Again, that coldness is going to help us to feel full, or help us to feel fresh, and hopefully combat the feelings of nausea and vomiting. Alrighty, let me check on this guy. You're doing good. Okay, any other tips that you use or maybe that we haven't covered if you've ever experienced nausea and vomiting? Ooh, okay. Peppermint, yeah. Definitely. That's a great one. Peppermints, are they smelling or sucking on it? I love that idea. Two, you can also, hearing a lot of to combat vomiting, what I hear a lot too is to use ginger chews. So you can have some ginger to help combat that nausea and vomiting. So, anything else? Soda water? Okay. Okay, like the carbonation? Yeah, okay, I like that. Some soda water, sparkling water. Awesome. So next we're going to jump into the diarrhea portion, and I'll go through this pretty quickly so that way we can get talking about food and not feel too strange about it. But anytime we're talking about diarrhea, we're saying loose, watery stools. As a dietitian, I love talking about poo because it can, and also our urine, it gives us a lot of indicators of how we're doing, especially with our eating habits too. So again, if we're experiencing that, that could be because of the rapid turnover of our cells, and it is targeting our GI tract. So we want to focus on soluble fiber versus insoluble fiber. So I always struggle with making sure I get these two different. Soluble is a type of fiber that can dissolve in water, and it adds a gel or bulkiness to stool. A stickiness. It kind of keeps the stool gelled together. It kind of helps to keep that together. Versus our insoluble doesn't dissolve with water, so it does more of the bulking. So that's the bulking, the insoluble. And so we're gonna want to have both types of fiber whenever we are experiencing constipation. But whenever we're experiencing diarrhea, we want more of the gelling, soluble, that's gonna keep it moving through. Anytime I talk about fiber too, I always wanna encourage water, because what fiber is doing, it's pulling our stool together. If we don't have enough water to keep it moving, we're gonna just make the constipation worse. So think bulk, keep moving, keep drinking that water to keep it moving too. So anytime we're talking about that. You can talk with your healthcare providers about probiotics or prebiotics. So the way I keep those two different, I may have told y'all before, probiotics with the O is the actual organism. Prebiotics with the E is what they eat. So again, if you're looking at probiotics, that may be some fermented foods like yogurt or kefir, also some kimchi, some miso soups. That's going to be the probiotics because it has those organisms. Everything else, like fiber, is a really great prebiotic because it can be food for those bacteria to eat in our stomach. So we have a whole class on gut microbiome, and that is something we could talk about at another time, but just a quick way to think about those. We're wanting to include those fiber to help with diarrhea if we need the bulking or the gelling together. So again, those soluble fibers are going to be like banana and applesauce. We have oats, beans, and barley, and like tapioca pudding as well. So a little bit of our quinoa, again, some grains. And then whenever we're talking about constipation, and oftentimes we can see diarrhea and constipation together back to back. And so if that happens, again, then maybe it's changing what that next snack is going to be like after we had a bout of diarrhea. Maybe we go into a bout of constipation. So we want to have both soluble and insoluble. So we're going to want to have more of those fruits and vegetables, have lots of great insoluble fiber. Seeds and even greens, lots of green, dark leafies is going to be a great way to help address that too. So now that we've gone through that, all the not so fun stuff, we can start actually talking about our food and working on our recipe for today. So today is a strawberry tabbouleh. I'm going to go ahead and set my kitchen safety up first. So I'm going to put my napkin underneath. Who's had tabbouleh before? Yeah? What is kind of the variation that you've had of your tabbouleh? Bulgur instead of quinoa? Definitely. So you can use those other grains, which is great. So to start off for today, we're going to go ahead and cut our avocado. Actually, I'm sorry. We're going to cut our walnuts because this is going to be a little bit the most tricky. So we're going to chop our walnuts in for our salad. So in order to chop, we're going to do a rock chop today. So holding our knife, I'm going to go ahead and pinch with, and if you can see up here too, I'm going to pinch with my thumb and my forefinger at the top, curl at the bottom. These knives are a little bit big for my fingers, so I'm going to try to hold it as secure as I can. We're going to do a rock chop today. So instead of using our claw to guide us, we're going to go ahead and put my other guiding hand. So I'm right-handed, my left hand's going on top, and I'm going to do a rock chop. It's considered the rock chop because we go back and forth like a rock. We're rocking. So with our nuts, again, we're getting some of that fiber. We're also getting some fats in it too with our walnuts. So I'm just wanting to make it a little bit smaller so that way when I bite into a handful of tabbouleh or a spoonful of tabbouleh, I'm not getting just a huge walnut all at once. So I'm going to do a rock chop back and forth, trying not to get walnuts flying all over my cutting board. All right. How are we doing? Good? Awesome. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit aside in the container that I had because I want to top it too and garnish today. So I'm going to put just a little bit aside. And then everything else I'm going to put straight into our plate to mix it in. There we go. Let me check our quinoa. Ooh, awesome. We are getting there with our quinoa. Ooh, there we go. Okay, just a few more minutes there. So now that we have that, our walnuts, I'm going to go ahead and chop our cucumbers. So cucumbers, we want to get a nice small dice with it. And I'm going to go ahead and cut down the middle to make my flat edge. I think everybody already should have your flat edge. And then I'm going to cut moon slices, half moon slices first. So slice it. Gonna keep my claw behind too, just extra food safety. And I kept the peel on our cucumber today. Why do you think I kept the cucumber with the peel today? The nutrients? What nutrient in particular do you think we're getting extra with it? So yes, fiber, that was it. So not necessarily vitamins and minerals, yes, definitely, but I was thinking more of the fiber content. So we're trying to add a little bit of extra fiber. So next what I'm doing, and if you can see up on the camera, I'm cutting, I want to make smaller dices. So I stacked it about 3 slices high. I cut down the middle, vertical, if you see it this way. I'm going to turn it 90 degrees. I'm going to cut again vertically to create a small dice. So we can often see doing a small dice like this if we're making tzatziki sauce. We want just a little bit of cucumber, not too much or too overpowering, but we want a little bit spread out through our whole dish. There you go. It also makes the cucumber, a little bit of cucumber go a long way, which is what we're trying to do today. All right. Another symptom that you may see is either dry mouth or even like changes in taste and flavors. Has anyone experienced that when going through treatment? Yes. What did you do to kind of help overcome that?
I changed cutlery. I couldn't eat with a metal cutlery, so I got to use reusable like bamboo or plastic.
Yes. Even changing out, instead of using canned produce, to do anything that's fresh or frozen. Again, frozen's going to have that added benefit of being colder to help address that. Anyone else? Any other tips you did when you had like changes in taste? I gotcha.
I had like a burning mouth.
Okay.
Like a year.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. And I did oil.
Oil pulling? Okay. So I know, of course, avoiding any alcohol, mouthwashes, any of that sort is going to be the first kind of area to go to. But have you heard of doing a mouth rinse? And I got to look at to make sure I say the correct mixture. 1 teaspoon of salt with 1 teaspoon of baking soda and 4 cups of warm water. It's a salt baking soda mixture to do that as a mouth rinse. So that one was new, to try that too. Another, of course, is having good oral hygiene. But actually, a fun fact and something that we recently learned, working with Chef, we started working with the local dentistry school here. We got to talk to a few dental students, and they're actually saying anytime we have nausea and vomiting, we should avoid brushing our teeth for 30 to 60 minutes after, especially vomiting. And that's because the acid from our stomach can actually eat away our enamel. And then if we're brushing again, we're making our enamel even more vulnerable to deteriorate. So they said rinse your mouth for sure after any time you vomit. Wash your mouth, of course, but then wait 30 to 60 minutes before brushing your teeth, and that'll protect your oral health a little bit more. So just something that the dental school shared with us. All right. So we have our cucumbers. Any other kind of tips that y'all would use or you would do?
No salsa.
No salsa?
Made my mouth burn.
Oh my gosh, even more I can imagine. But how about sauces? Did anyone start adding more sauces to your diet? No? So a lot of times sauces are really great because they add extra nutrients. They can be a little bit more dense in nutrients, but at the same time, they can help to enhance the flavor of your food and make it a little bit more appealing or pleasurable too. So that's why sometimes we talk about barbecue, soy sauce, or even extra condiments, pulling out our ketchup and mustard. Maybe not all the time. We're not putting like ketchup on eggs unless if you feel that strong desire for, but I know some people it helps. Okay, so you may have noticed I just went ahead and peeled off the rind or the peel of my avocado. So sometimes that's how you can tell if your avocado is perfectly ripe, you can just pull it right out without even looking. Other times you may need to kind of cut out of it. So just kind of a fun fact or fun kind of tip too here. I know this may be the hard part to get the rest of the seed out of our avocado, but instead what I like to do is just do again another kind of rocking motion to get our avocado cut. And if anyone wants any extra avocado, we have that here too. So all we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and dice our avocado as well. So I'm going to continue keeping it in, this is 1/4 of an avocado. I cut it to about 1/8. Cut it in half long ways and then cut horizontally to have smaller pieces. You can. It just depends on how much you want in each bite. So I'm going to keep it a little bit larger. If you're not a huge avocado fan, you can definitely go smaller. And while y'all are cutting the avocado, our quinoa is good and ready, so I'll start portioning it out. All right. There we go. Okay. Let's see here. So if you have dry mouth, would anyone chew gum regularly if you had experienced symptoms of a dry mouth? Sometime you would chew gum. Chewing gum actually helps to stimulate saliva production. So that's a wonderful way if you do experience that symptom of dry mouth. Of course, always drinking water, but is there anything else that you would do? Okay. It does? Okay. That's again a really great way to help combat that symptom. So saliva, again, when we talked with those dental students, we got such great information from them. They said actually saliva helps to prevent dental caries or cavities. And that's because saliva continues to kind of move any food particles out of our mouth so nothing is pulled or just staying in our mouth. So whenever you experience dry mouth or have that symptom of dry mouth, sometimes you can see an increased risk for cavities or more cavity production. So as I'm doing this, if you want to jump onto the strawberries next, we're going to go ahead. Some of you have fresh, some of them are frozen. What we're doing is we're going to dice the strawberries to add a little bit of sweetness. Make sure to take off the stem at the top. Now I'll continue to portion this out. So the reason we're doing a strawberry tabbouleh today is because it has a few of these components that we're talking about. It has this starchy base that's also rich in protein with the quinoa. We also have, here we go, some sweetness with our strawberries. We're going to use lemon right at the end to bring out the acidity. Bring out some more flavors, help to get our, to bring out the flavors, help if we have that change in appetite, change in taste. And then too, we have cucumber. The cucumber is a great, again, it's very high water content, very high in water content. So we're wanting to keep in mind all of the water contents of our food. Again, even with the frozen strawberries, we're getting a little bit of extra water too, some sweetness. So it's a great alternative or a great addition to this recipe. Alrighty. And then another symptom that we wanted to talk about is a loss of appetite. Did anyone experience a loss of appetite with treatment? I feel like that one's fairly common. Was there any way that you addressed that loss in appetite? Protein drinks? Protein drinks is a great idea. Again, something you can have cold to help with that. Go down a little bit easier. Still getting calories throughout it too. Any other? I feel like there's a tip that was shared with us, and I feel like it's makes very obvious sense, but I love it because it also reminds that food is supposed to be enjoyed. So making your favorite meal and enjoying your favorite food when you can, and keeping it either in your fridge if you have a favorite snack or favorite food. Just so that way, if you do have like the sudden increase in appetite, you have something that you can go to that you know you're going to love and enjoy. So just something to keep in mind. All right, so I'm going to do one last rock chop because I have a few large strawberries. All right, I'm going to add that in. And also, I'll share the quinoa with you too since it's ready. Okay, well now that the quinoa is being passed around, we're going to start to build our tabbouleh all together. So I don't know about you, using those frozen strawberries again can add that sweetness, add a little bit of coldness, but I also like having something just a little warm. So we're going to add the quinoa while it's still warm to help maybe defrost a little bit too of your strawberries if those are still frozen. So I'm going to add that in and start to mix. Ooh. As I'm mixing, I'm going to go ahead and mix in these are our onions. So this is a green onion. You can see in its stalks. And these, anything that's in these larger containers, we're going to share with your partner that you're standing next to. So just add in some of the green onion. You can do fresh green onion too. I like it because it's a little bit easier to cut. You don't have to sit there crying as you're cutting your onion. And you can even just use scissors and take your scissors to the green onion and just chop off a little bit at a time. You can even replant your stems of the green onion at the bottom. I went ahead and just got chopped for everybody already, but you can get a fresh full stalk and then regrow it and have it constantly, or keep it in the garden, keeping it on your windowsill. It regrows wonderfully. It's actually really fun to see. You can, so your full green onion, cut to about the white part, put it in about maybe a centimeter of water, and you'll see the roots regrow at the bottom, and you'll see a new shoot pop up at the top of a green onion. So then you can use it and have it on your windowsill and constantly come and cut a little bit, and you have some for your next meal. So you can eat the white part. There's actually some included in this one, but the white part you do need to regrow it. Yeah, to regrow the roots and the stems. And you can actually put it in a little bit of soil and keep it on your windowsill, and it grows wonderfully. Or if you put it into a garden bed, it'll grow into a full-size onion. It takes about a year or so to continue to grow, but it does take some time. Yeah. So just something fun too. You can keep. Again, that onion too is going to bring out more of our flavored profiles within this recipe. Alrighty, so now we're just going to keep on mixing everything else that's left over. The feta, today it's about half a tablespoon of feta that we're going to add into it. Feta is a pretty salty type of cheese. Still fresh, but it is pretty salty, or at least for me. You're going to add that in. As we're adding that in, I'm going to go ahead and bring in our olive oil. This is, again, about a tablespoon. And this is just to help bring all our flavors together. Last but not least is our parsley. So this we're going to go ahead and give a quick chop and mix it all in together. So here, I'm just going to take my parsley, bunch it up, and cut through. So you can include as much or as little as you want. Using fresh herbs and spices is a great way to, again, bring out more flavor, add some dimension and depth to our dish, and hopefully appeal to our taste buds that are also constantly changing too. Alrighty. I feel like the parsley, again, is one of the main flavor components of our dish. So I'm going to go ahead and add that in. You can also add any other herbs like mint to it too. Some fresh mint would be great. It was actually on our recipe today. We didn't have any in our garden to pull out, but something extra to add. Any other herbs or spices that you would like to add to your tabbouleh? Right. Mint can grow like wildfire. Yeah, that's wonderful. I love it. That is pretty wonderful.
So I always thought tabbouleh was like a thing of itself.
Yeah.
But it's not in meat,
It's a dish.
It's a dish, yes. So we are making it a little bit different. We're bringing in some of our produce that we see here in South Central Texas, like avocados and strawberries. Especially, I know, like Poteet, we love our strawberries pretty close by. We have our annual strawberry festivals. So we're just bringing in some of our flavors that are common to Texas too. And the last bit that we're going to add in is our lemon. So again, some acidity with the citric acid to, again, bring out some of those flavors. And does anyone remember the tip to save or to keep any of the seeds out of getting in, other than picking it? Yep. Squeeze it in your hand backwards. So that way you can still catch it. It's a little bit messier, that's for sure. There you go. All right, let me grab a napkin. All right. Just about ready to eat. So the last two ingredients that we have, if you notice, are our pine nuts. And these are actually a pine nut cereal, or I'm sorry, grape nuts. There you go. It's a grape nut cereal. And then we have our walnuts still. So we added the walnuts in originally, but I'm going to go ahead and top it just to garnish. And I'll move it to the center so you can see. So I'm just going to top to get it right on top. And then we have our grape nuts. So the grape nut cereal that we're including today is just to add an extra crunch and an extra dimension of texture. So whenever we are, again, struggling with our appetite, any of our flavors, we're trying to add, make it an exciting dish. We're making it exciting by different textures. So we have some crunchy, some soft, a little bit meaty texture as well. And then we have different flavor profiles. We have the sweetness with the strawberry, but a little bit of acidity with our lemon. So we're just trying to, again, add more to it, bringing in lots of flavor with our parsley too. So I'm going to add this in on top, and then you can also mix it too. And there we go, we have our strawberry tabbouleh. So this is a new recipe for me to try. I'm really excited to see, but I'd love to hear what you think too.
What defines tabbouleh?
That's a great question. So I don't know exactly. I'll look into that. I'll have to look more into it. My understanding was that it was the grains mixed with like an olive oil and then some fresh herbs. But I don't know. I can look that up. Yeah. So what do you think? How does it taste? Good? Oh, so there is a specific formula to Tabbouleh. So this is our strawberry South Central Texas version of it. Something new to try. So that will wrap up our class for today. If you have any questions or concerns, please, I'd love to stay and chat with you afterwards. And then to just take it one day at a time. There's, again, lots of tips and tricks that we can share, but always talk with your healthcare provider. It's a team approach to your health. So feel free to ask and include a dietitian, any nurse practitioners, of course, your doctors into your team and helping you. And 2, you have your ThriveWell team tier 2. That's your support group. So if you have any questions, I'll stay afterwards, but thank you for today.